Up investigation underway. A robbery outside of a Tyler nightclub ends with 2 different crime scenes and 2 people shot. We'll show you how 2 off-duty sheriff's deputies responded. And not over yet. The marching may be done, but students vow to keep their fight for smarter gun laws. We'll show you how some U.S. lawmakers are responding. Then fighting back. 3 years ago, the life of a UT Tyler student was changed by a drunk driver. Today, she's inspiring others through her first love, music.
Local, experienced, trusted. This is KETK News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Daniel Pierce, and thank you very much for joining us this Sunday. Tonight, we're learning the father who lost his family in Friday's deadly crash in Mount Pleasant is now out of the hospital. Jeffrey Brokish is on his way back to his home in Illinois. He and his wife and 3 children were hit by an 18-wheeler in a 5-car pileup Friday morning. His wife and children were all killed in the crash, along with the driver of that 18-wheeler. And as he returns home, hundreds in their community continue to grieve. Family friends have found at least one silver lining. They say Jessica Brokish and her children knew God. Bailey Bryant tells us how friends believe they're with him now.
Look at this photo and you can almost hear laughter and feel warmth. Friends say that's what it was like to be around Jessica Brokish and her family.
She was joyful and kind and gracious and always generous with her time and her love.
Wendy Mark and Amanda Goebel met Jessica at St. John's Lutheran Church in Champaign in a group for moms.
Absolutely loved being a mom. She enjoyed her kids the most.
Her daughter was 2 years old and her sons were 6 and 9. After learning all 3 plus Jessica died in a crash on a spring break road trip in Texas, their schools posted, quote, "The news is absolutely devastating." One school even hosted a prayer and remembrance ceremony for the devoutly Christian foursome.
They're all in heaven and are not feeling any pain anymore.
And friends believe they're with this stillborn baby Jessica had in 2014.
I think that's one of the things that we're all trying to remember, is that she will get to hold her son in her arms again, even though we'll all miss her a lot.
No one misses the family more than the husband and father left behind. But with hundreds of friends and family members supporting him, he's anything but alone.
For this to happen, I'm sure everybody thinks about, like, what if that happened to me? And so they are getting together to help Jeff and hopefully make him feel the love from all of us.
That was Bailey Bryant reporting. Friends say even though she had a PhD, her biggest accomplishment was being a mom. A GoFundMe page has been set up to pay for their family's funerals. You can find out information on that on our website, EastTexasMatters.com. Tonight, investigators are looking into how 2 people ended up in the hospital with gunshot wounds and if one of them might have been shot by a Smith County deputy. The incident began Saturday morning in North Tyler in the AutoZone parking lot on Gentry Parkway. 2 Smith County Sheriff's deputies were working security at Whataburger when they heard shots coming from the AutoZone parking lot, which is next door. When they went to investigate, they had to fight through a large crowd. And in the confusion, there was more gunfire, this time possibly from one of the deputies. One man was shot, but it's unclear if he was shot by the deputy or from that first gunshot. That person was taken to the hospital by police. Now, authorities believe this was all in connection to a robbery which happened earlier a few miles away at the 220 Lounge on Glenwood Street. We're told about 4 hours after the shooting involving authorities, a second person showed up to the hospital with a gunshot wound, and police say this person is also connected to that robbery. It's unknown at which location this person was shot.
That victim and the victim from the 2 a.m. shooting, we believe, got into an altercation at the 220 Lounge, which is a nightclub on Glenwood Street. So there was already and that's where we said a robbery had occurred. One of those victims stole something from the other victim.
The names of both of these people have not been released as of news time, and no officers were hurt. Washington, D.C. is quiet tonight, one day after the massive March for Our Lives rally across the world. But student activists are vowing to continue the fight for smarter gun control laws. And they say that they will rally young voters to go to the polls in the November midterm elections. Jennifer Johnson has our story from Capitol Hill.
One day after the massive March for Our Lives rally, a quieter Washington. But the teenagers demanding stricter gun control laws remain ready for battle, vowing to go to the polls and vote out lawmakers who won't act.
If we can encourage these people to take action, to be participating in our society, in our politics, then that's going to encourage our voters to actually turn out.
Youth voter turnout in the 2014 midterm elections was the lowest in 40 years. I believe that we will win! But March organizers believe 2018 will be different, and they are ready to fight the NRA.
The second we want to put common sense regulations on these assault weapons, the NRA will say they are trying to steal every single one of your guns. And people believe them. Fortunately, the majority of the American people see past this.
Some lawmakers are hopeful this youth movement could lead to change.
This era of fake news and disinformation, to see the genuineness of all those young people, I think this time it's going to be different.
But many Republicans are more reluctant.
Every citizen, as long as they are law-abiding, also has the right to exercise their Second Amendment rights.
The students also say the newly signed government spending bill allocating $2.3 billion to make schools safer is not enough to change the epidemic of gun violence. Jennifer Johnson, NBC News, Washington.
And today, former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum criticized the March for Our Lives protest. He says students should take steps individually to either respond to or stop school shootings rather than calling for new gun laws. Santorum made suggestions like learning CPR or stopping bullying rather than calling for new gun laws. Well, we wanted to know what East Texans thought about this. Here are some comments from Facebook. Bobby says his remarks were out of line, but I do agree that if they quit bullying, it might reduce people's thinkings that they need to take extreme actions to make it stop. Donald disagrees and says, I don't think that is the answer to the problem. I think Congress needs to quit taking money from the National Rifle Association, listen to their community, and do away with AR-15s. And lastly, Ashley agrees with Santorum and adds that parents should be more involved in their kids' lives. As always, we thank you for your comments, and we ask you to stay social with us on our Facebook page, and you can stay connected on our website, easttexasmatters.com. Nearly 2 weeks after being forced out as Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson may soon have a new job. It's going to be with his alma mater, the University of Texas. The Wall Street Journal reports Tillerson is being considered for Chancellor of the University of Texas. Current Chancellor William McRaven will step down in May. If picked, he would be the mediator for 14 institutions, including UT Tyler. East Texans got the chance to meet the candidate running for Texas Commissioner of Agriculture. Kim Olson, a retired Air Force colonel and Democratic candidate, met with young Democrats in Tyler today. We asked her several questions about tariffs, regulations, and helping Texas farmers thrive. Olson says tariffs will ultimately hurt farmers, and so will overregulation. However, Ms. Olson says Texas farmers will thrive under her leadership because she won't be some distant bureaucrat, but more like a personal friend who knows what they need.
Right now I'm visiting all 254 counties. Tyler's 125. And so when you walk people's fields, when you visit their farms, when you sit at their family dinner tables, you learn what their issues are. And once you do that, you can come back and represent them in Austin and then send it up to Washington.
Olson ran unopposed in the Democratic Party. She will be facing incumbent Sid Miller in the November election. Coming up next on KETK News at 10, music as a weapon. A UT Tyler student whose life was tragically changed is not letting it define her future.
If I can relearn to walk after everything my body has been through, then I'll figure music out eventually.
We'll show you the role that her music has played in her journey to heal and help others. And Jammin' Jimmy Olsen, he's back at it with his extreme food drive. We'll show you just how far he's willing to go for hungry children.
And it's a calm before the storm. We are headed into an active